All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to make probability trees. I wrote tables again on this one originally. The other day we saw probability tables. That was good for when you had two events that you wanted to know the probability of one and the other happening. Probability trees are good for finding probabilities of two or more events. So it'll still work for two, just like a table. In fact, a situation with two events like flipping a coin twice in a row, rolling a die twice in a row, maybe you're spinning a spinner and pulling a marble out of a bag, so a combination like that. You can make a tree and a table. But if there's more than two events, we're not able to do a table anymore. So I'm going to use this one example here, excuse me, from the lesson that you were doing. And if you're watching this in the future, you did this lesson. And we had an ice cream shop. And at the ice cream shop, you had to pick one base, one mix-in, and one fruit swirl. And these were your choices. So for bases, you could pick vanilla and chocolate. For mix-ins, you could pick hazelnut sprinkles or toffee bits. And for fruit swirls, does that even look like fruit? There's an eye there. Fruit swirl, you could pick apricot, plum, berry, and grape. I want to make sure you're seeing the relationship here between probabilities here. Each choice is a different event. So like in another problem, maybe I would say, what's the probability that you'll flip a coin 3 times in a row and get something? In that situation, the first event would be coin number 1, coin number 2, coin number 3. But here, we're talking about choices from each of the sections. So let's see how this one works. The first choice, your choice between vanilla and chocolate, or your first event, is going to be the first split on your tree. So I usually do these sideways. Sometimes people do them coming down, kind of like a factor tree. Make sure you give yourself enough room. And by the way, write this one with me the first time so you practice it, okay? So try to put it kind of in the middle of your space because it has to split up. It gets wide pretty quick. And I'm just starting with a point, okay? We're at the beginning. My first event has 2 outcomes. So I'm going to split it into 2 branches. And they have to go kind of wide because there's going to be a bunch of branches that come off of these. I need to make sure I'm in the screen. That's not perfect, but that's okay. And at the end of these, I'm going to write each of those outcomes. So vanilla would be one choice, and chocolate would be the other. Now, when you do these in the future on your own, you don't have to write the full word. I usually just do V and C, but for the first one, I didn't want to confuse you, so we're going to do it with the full word. This represents the 2 outcomes from my first choice, right? We've split off into 2 different worlds, one where I picked vanilla and one where I picked chocolate. My next event is my choice of mix-in. There are 3 different outcomes from that event. So from each of these branches, I'm going to do 3 more branches, and they're going to say each of these mix-ins. So I could have picked vanilla, and again, you kind of have to spread it, but don't go too far with the top one. So vanilla, this could be hazelnut, or you could have picked sprinkles, or you could have picked, boy, I hope I left myself, well, we might have to abbreviate the last line because I don't think I left myself enough room, but you could pick toffee bits. For chocolate, you have those same 3 options, right? We're gonna write those again because this time it represents picking chocolate first and then picking hazelnut. Oh gosh, sorry, okay. And then, doesn't have to be perfect, right? Sprinkles, and then toffee bits. And now finally we have a 3rd outcome. So this is where the tree becomes more valuable than the table with 3 outcomes. We have to pick a fruit swirl. So let's think about what each of these represent. So you tell me, what does this sprinkles represent? Okay, so hopefully you told me that this represents chocolate and sprinkles, right? This sprinkles represents picking vanilla and sprinkles. This one is chocolate and sprinkles. You have to follow the whole tree to the outside to get what that outcome means. Now for the last ones, I don't think I'm going to be able to fit. Well, we'll see. Let's see. The last ones, I have to put all 4 fruit swirls branching off each of these options. So after vanilla and hazelnut, then you can pick apricot. Oh, this is going to be a lot to write. If you're doing this on your own, abbreviate these, please. I'll write them out, but you don't need to. Berry, and in fact, I might actually not do that. So those 4 options. So now off sprinkles, I'm just going to write the first letter, and you can do this too. Apricot, plum, berry, grape. Try to keep it organized because you need to be able to see all of the outcomes. And now again, when I come down here, we have those same 4 choices after we've picked chocolate and then the mix-ins. So again, apricot, plum, berry, grape. Apricot, plum, berry, grape. Apricot, plum, berry, grape. Now let me look at it. I hope I didn't confuse this. Didn't make this too confusing here. The only one I'm worried about is I hope we noticed that grape there at the bottom. It's a little mixed in. So, what is this showing? All of our choices here, all of our combinations of one of each of these are shown by this last row here on the side. These ones in the middle are just intermediate steps. These don't represent anything. Like this chocolate right here doesn't mean anything because you can't just pick chocolate. You have to pick one of each. So if I come here to the end, let's look at this. What does this mean? I follow the line. It means vanilla with hazelnut and apricot. This right here is vanilla with hazelnut with plum. Vanilla with hazelnut with berry. This is vanilla with hazelnut and grape. And that's what every one of these other letters represents. So let me check you on a couple of these. You can do this on the Edpuzzle here. What does this A, which is really apricot, what does this represent? All right, hopefully for that one you told me that's chocolate, hazelnut, and apricot. Let's try another. How about this B right here? Remember, B is berry. All right, hopefully you told me vanilla, toffee, berry. Let me ask you this. Now, how many total combinations are there? You could also think of this as total outcomes for the 3 events. How many total combinations? Oh gosh. All right, go ahead and tell me. So hopefully you counted this row over here. So these are the final combinations. So if we want to know the total number of combinations, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. There's 24 combinations. And you might be thinking to yourself, there's got to be an easier way than counting this final row. Well, first of all, you can always count this final row. That's a good way to do it. But if you wanted to make it a little easier on yourself, notice that there's 2 choices and then 3 more choices. So that's 2 times 3 is 6. There are 6 options at this point. And then you have 4 more, and 6 times the 4 of each one would give you 24. So you could also multiply the number of choices from each one to get the total number of combinations. All right, that took longer than I thought to make that tree. I hope that this was okay. Please ask questions when we come back in case you're confused by anything. Good luck.